Hello and welcome back to GoodKnit Kisses. I'm Kristen and my friends with All Free Knitting and I wanted to present you another video about loom knitting. And today I wanted to have it more of as a discussion about knitting with needles and knitting with a loom. And when we're talking about the traditional of all stitches, the knit stitch. The knit stitch in knitting with needles, traditionally you have a regular knit stitch that you use quite often, and there's also a knit through the back loop or knit one through the back loop. As it's written down, it's K1 TBL, meaning through the back loop. And in loom knitting, we call that, and it's used quite often, we call that the E-wrap stitch. It's also called the twisted knit stitch. So the name twisted knit stitch and knit one through the back loop are used, same terminology, in knitting with needles and also in loom knitting. However, a lot of loom knitters only know it by the twisted knit stitch, or more commonly as the E-wrap. It's also called single stitch that I've been learning about, but you don't see it as often, but sometimes it is noted. So that can be confusing when you're looking at some loom directions and you know one stitch but you don't know the other, but you probably didn't realize you do know how to do it. So this is a good discussion for kind of newbies to it, or people who know how to knit with needles but you're kind of confused on some of the lingo. It's, for some reason, there's double talk, so I just want to kind of clear that up. I do want to show you this one right here. I've knitted a couple of different ways. In loom knitting, we call it knitting, and we also call it flat stitch, the flat knit stitch or the U-stitch. And I've actually purposely made this with all different ones. It looks the same. I'm really not sure why it's called different things, maybe just because of the method of how you're performing it, but it comes out the same. So this one right here, just to show you, I did all of the flat stitch, and I'll show you here in a moment how to do that. And this one I knitted using the U. It's just a little bit looser. It's when you use the flat knit stitch, sometimes it becomes really, really tight, and people can tend to break off their yarn trying to go over their peg because they got it too tight. So the U is popular for that, but it's much faster to do it that way. This right here is the twisted knit stitch, or also called through the back loop. So you can see it has kind of a nubbier sort of look to it, and it's twisted up. So that's just to show you what those different ones. Let me show you what they look like on the loom. I've already cast it on here, but I wanted to show you what these look like. Let's just start with the regular knit stitch. If I take this right here and go up and over, this is the knit stitch. If I hold my yarn back, do this, that is a knit stitch. If I do this, under, pull it down, pull the loop, pull it off, put on the new, pull it over, that is a knit stitch. All three of these are knit stitches. The first one was what we call a flat stitch, the second was a U, and this is a knit. If you want to do the twisted knit stitch, or through the back loop, you're going to come around the back side, up and around the front, and back again. It makes an E, and then pull it up and over, and that is the twisted knit stitch, or through the back loop, or single stitch, depending upon the directions you're looking at. So if you see one of the things, then that's how you're going to perform that task there. So this is a way that you can know how to take your, if you regularly knit with needles and you've got patterns that you want to convert over to the loom, say you're learning the loom because of carpal tunnel or for some other reason, this is good because then you can take your knitting patterns and just switch them over. Once you know the stitch on the loom, how to switch it over, then you really won't have any trouble with any of your other work. So just learning those stitches will really help you. And for people who are new or a little confused in reading patterns, this should be helpful for you. Let me know what you think. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to GoodKnit Kisses. Again, I'm Kristen. Have a great week. Happy looming!